So I was coming off of a bit of a difficult period right when I took this, November 22nd, when I took the double dose. I had tooth surgery, and that's confined me to my bed for like a week or so. Horrible pain, having to take painkillers all the time. So I was really looking forward to just to live, basically, to do things again. And about 1 week in, I was finally allowed to do a bit more, move a bit more. So on the Sunday before that, I didn't take the pill, from what I remember, and I didn't think it was going to be that bad to have 36 milligrams. I took the double dose, took both at the same time. That was the only time when I took both simultaneously. And I was sort of anticipating, because I had some positive experiences. I mean, I would say it's a net positive. I guess I was kind of excited to have that double dose. Took it in the morning, went to bed again, to sort of sense what the experience would be like. And for all intents and purposes, it was basically double the effect of the first dose, both the good and the bad. And like usual, I start noticing about 2 hours in, maybe I start noticing an effect. And so it wasn't immediate or anything, but 1.5, maybe 2 hours, you start noticing something. I can't say that I didn't look at my phone at any time or so. It's possible that I did, but I try to stay not distracted by anything, which is what I think you should do if you want to get a good grip of, what is the medication versus what is just stuff happening around you. Now my brain comes up with all of these images and metaphors for what it's like. And I don't know if it makes sense to any other person if I try to explain it. But I have synesthesia too, so I can see sort of emotions and experiences in colors. And I would, if I got to put a color, I would say yellow. It sort of represents light, but not like blinding light. It's a very comfortable type of light, not overwhelming or anything like that. So for the first time, the first pill, I would say, is a bit like being in a lift that's sort of slowly going upwards, and it's so slow that you don't even notice. It's like you're in an observation tower and you're in a lift, sort of getting a bit higher and higher. I guess that's why the term high exists. And you don't notice when you're going up because it's very, very slow. But once you take a look outside, you're like, wow, I can see so far away. I can see what's in the horizon, all those little things that I couldn't see. It's like you've been on the ground, so you haven't been able to see what's over there in the horizon. And then when you take the pill, it's like you can look out and see, those little houses and whatever it might be. So that's a metaphor, I would say, for the first dose that I took, that I came up with. It's not that it didn't exist before, I guess. The things that are there in the horizon, obviously, they were always there. It's just that you couldn't see them as clearly. But now, when you're sort of being lifted up, you can see what's near, but also what's a bit further away. Another metaphor is like you're in a room and you turn on the lights. So let's say you're in a dark room and there's all this stuff there in the dark room that it's there, but you can't see it. So it's like you're walking around, stumbling a bit everywhere, trying to sort of grab onto and see, okay, what is this? But when you take this pill, it's like you turn on the lights, and so you can see clearly what's there. It's not that it wasn't there before. It's just that you can finally see what's there. You don't have to sort of stumble around in the dark trying to find your way. And I find it important to emphasize that you're lighting up your own house or your own room. Because I don't want to make it seem like you become a different person. I very much feel like you don't become a different person. You're still the same person. So it's like you're still in the same room that you've always been in. You don't change room to everywhere else or anywhere else. You're in the same room that you've always been, and it's just that you can sort of see clearer, instead of maybe having to walk around or use sort of a lamp to try to, instead of having to do that, the light turns out and you can see. But you don't change the room, nothing new comes into the room. So yeah, I find it important just to emphasize that it doesn't change anything about who you are as a person, in my personal view, which others might disagree with, but it doesn't change how you think, it doesn't change your interests. In my case, I still have the same interests as before. More than take away who it is, I feel like it brings out the person you've always been on the inside. So when people say like it takes away their personality, honestly I feel like it does the opposite. It brings it out more. And I think that's part of why it's so beautiful, that you can see finally that this is who I am, and that I've always been, this, everything that I can see clearly, it's always been inside my brain, even when I felt like I lost track of it. Because sometimes you feel like you lose track of your thoughts and information, and like it's gone forever. But what this pill shows you is that just because you feel sometimes lost doesn't mean that information and those thoughts can't come back to you. They can. They're always there. They've always been there. So yeah, I think that's a confidence boost. And when you're in my situation, I'm struggling a lot with my confidence. I think anything that can give that sort of boost in confidence it's really helpful. I thought that, wonder what second pill will be like, because if a first dose of it is, if it's, creates this interesting and amazing sort of images in my mind, then what could a second dose do? Would I feel like I'm twice as high in the observation tower? That didn't happen. I didn't feel like I was twice as high. Instead, it was more like, take this room that I was in. It was like, instead of, I guess, just being in a room that's lit up, it's like you're so high up in the room that you're starting to push against the ceiling and the walls, which is almost a bit painful, but it's still bright and all of that, so it's still good, positive in that sense, but it's starting to get a bit painful, pushing against the ceiling and whatnot. And what that was that I started to experience some noticeable physical side effects, I think. I said that I didn't notice any physical, or a couple I didn't notice, but that, my heart rate didn't go up on the first pill. The second pill it did. And it was very noticeable. And it's honestly, it's the reason why I eventually decided that I need to lower my dose. But yeah, physical side effects, started to get more intense and more unbearable. As much as I really wanted to trust that this wasn't going to happen, that I was going to be fine, just like I was the first time around. It can, because I guess it's a stimulant, and it stimulates like the central nervous system. And, I'm not an expert, so do your own research. But I think that what it does is like it stimulates the central nervous system, which is sort of connected both to the brain and the body. So it's like your brain gets stimulated, but your body also gets sort of stimulated. So that's what I think happens. And I guess you can't really get the good without the bad, which is a shame, because I gladly take the positive side effects without the negative ones, of course.